I'd like to call to order the Municipality of Monroeville's regular council meeting for May 8th, 2018. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence afterwards.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Roll call, Sharon.
Mayor Grieslock.
Here.
Mrs. Gagos.
Here.
Mr. Coach.
Here.
Mr. Harvey.
Here.
Mr. Johns.
Here.
Mr. Rosinko.
Here.
Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Little.
Here.
Mr. Ratcher.
Here.
Mr. Rock.
Here.
Mr. Rock. I'm sorry. Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mr. Sedlak.
Here.
Mr. Weldon.
Here. I'd like to move the agenda around a little bit. I'm going to start with proclamation number 2, Lyme Disease Awareness Month. I typically don't like to speak about my personal life and personal challenges because I understand that everyone has their hardships in life, but Lyme disease hits very close to home for me. My wife has been battling it for about 10 years now, and there is a lot of misinformation and a lot of misdiagnosing that goes on. It began for us about 10 years ago. It was a night going to leaving for the beach. She woke up with some very terrible heart palpitations, never had them before, and we kind of discounted it as maybe it's no big deal. These symptoms continued along with others. And then it began from there of all the doctors, 15 different doctors, both health systems here in the Pittsburgh region, a trip to the Cleveland Clinic. Finally, she was diagnosed with Lyme about 10 months later after every test imaginable, every imaging imaginable, blood work, you name it. We thought then that was the answer. She was given a course of antibiotics. And was told that that was it, you're good, we got it, and you're fine, and that has not been the case since. The positive thing about Lyme disease is that it's preventable with awareness and making sure that we're checking ourselves for ticks, but the problems that come with it when it's not properly diagnosed or not properly treated, there's still a lot of gaps in the healthcare system. There are some providers that don't recognize chronic Lyme. It's just discounted as, well, you had it, and now you have other issues, and that's that. And there's a lot of people that are slipping between the cracks for this disease and this treatment. There's a lack of treatment with it. So I'm going to be reading the proclamation. We'll be talking more about this, and I appreciate your time. Whereas the incidence of Lyme disease, a bacterial infection transmitted by the bite of a tick, continues to increase in Monroeville and throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and whereas Pennsylvania has ranked number 1 in reported cases of Lyme disease in the United States for the past 6 years, and whereas the total number of Lyme disease cases continues to rise nationwide, with the Centers for Disease Control estimating that the number of people diagnosed with Lyme disease is 10 times higher than the number of reported cases, and whereas fewer than 50% of people with Lyme disease ever recall a tick bite, and fewer than 50% of people with Lyme disease recall any rash, and whereas Lyme disease testing is unreliable, making diagnosis difficult, leading to underdiagnosis or misdiagnosis, which may lead to serious complications, including, but not limited to, neurological, cardiac, and musculoskeletal problems, it is imperative that all who may be exposed to the bacteria that causes Lyme disease receive immediate and proper treatment, and whereas when improperly treated or when treatment is unsuccessful, there are conflicting evidence-based guidelines to treat chronic Lyme disease or post-treatment Lyme symptoms, and even some disagreement on their existence. So physicians need to be further educated on this disease and associated co-infections and symptoms. Whereas warmer months are considered the most active time for exposure to ticks during normal outdoor activities, including yard work and gardening. with many of those ticks being very small, at times about the size of a poppy seed, and often looking like a speck of dirt. And whereas the best solution to reduce the risk of contracting Lyme disease is awareness and education about the seriousness of the infection and associated co-infections, and the need to practice preventative techniques such as the use of repellent, frequent tick checks, proper tick removal, and reduction of tick habitats. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Nicholas J. Griesock, Mayor of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, hereby proclaim May 2018 as Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and in doing so encourage everyone to further educate themselves about Lyme disease prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and to advocate for research while supporting those suffering from this debilitating disease. And I'll be signing this into the book for May 8th, 2018. Thank you. I don't share these stories, for sympathy or pity, but it's really just an opportunity to raise awareness. And my wife and I, we don't want people to go through what we've gone through. There's good moments and bad moments with this, but there's definitely been some long stretches of dark roads. And but it's really about raising awareness, talking to your healthcare provider, really checking yourself, particularly checking your kids whenever they're outside. We don't want to discourage anyone from enjoying the outside and being outside, being in your yard, but we just want to practice proper techniques to recognize these symptoms. So, thanks again. And we have one more proclamation. Whereas the Congress of the United States of America has designated the week of May 13th through the 19th to be dedicated as National Police Week, and May 15th of each year to be National Police Officers Memorial Day. And whereas law enforcement officials and officers are guardians of the life and property, defenders of the individual right to be free men, warriors in the war against crime, and dedicated to the preservation of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas it is known that every 57 hours, an American police officer will be killed in the line of duty somewhere in the United States, and 187 officers will be seriously assaulted in the performance of their duties, our community joins with other cities and towns to honor all police officers everywhere. Now therefore I, Nicholas J. Griesock, Mayor of the Municipality of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, proclaim the week of May 13th through the 19th to be Police Week, and call upon all citizens in this community to especially honor and show our sincere appreciation for the police officers of this community by deed, remark, and attitude. I call upon all of our citizens to make every effort to express their thanks to our men and women who make it possible for us to leave our homes and family in safety each day, and to return to our homes knowing we are protected by men and women willing to sacrifice their lives, if necessary, to guard our loved ones, property, and government against all who would violate the law. And I was going to mention this in my closing comments, but we're talking about the police force. Certainly, everything I read here is absolutely true. And I just wanted to commend one of our officers who's retiring at the end of the month, Officer Jim Markle. And a lot of times, if anyone that does watch the meetings, he's often here at this time because he is the officer who often sings our national anthem. So not only is he does he protect and serve our community, but he has certainly represented our community very well with different singing engagements throughout the Commonwealth, actually. So we wish him the best. And now we're going to move over to one more announcement or presentation by Ernie Grover, Monroeville Foundation, and Krista Bragg, COO of Forbes Hospital. They have an update on the Forbes Hospital 40th Anniversary Community Day. Welcome.
Thank you. As Nick mentioned, I'm Ernie Groover, president of the Monroeville Foundation, and with me today is Krista Bragg. She's the Chief Operating Officer for Forbes Hospital. Wanted to give you a brief update on where we are and the things that we've been doing to coordinate the first annual Monroeville Community Day. The date is Saturday, July 28th, 2018, up at the Community Park West. We're going to start the day off with a 5K run and walk, and Krista will talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, and a health fair. The health fair will be conducted by Forbes Hospital. During the day, we will have food trucks in the area so that people can enjoy the food trucks. We'll have a DJ there during the 5K run and walk to make it a real festive entertainment atmosphere for everyone who will be attending. During the The community day itself, which will kick off at approximately 11 or 12 o'clock. Obviously, the 5K walk will start around 8 or 8:30 in the morning. We will have vendor booths. And one of the things that we set up is vendor booths for the police department, EMS, fire, and if desired, we'll also have vendor booths for our council people. So we will be reaching out to you to see if you would like to come out and meet your constituents during the day, what time you'll be available. We'll have a table for you, and you can meet people and greet them and learn a little bit more about what is on their minds. For the kids, we'll have face painting, caricature artists, glitter tattoo artists, balloon artists, and several what I call bounce attractions. I have grandchildren, and they like to jump up and down on stuff, so we'll have that type of activities. We're anticipating a very large crowd for this event. Entertainment for the adults. We're having 3 bands that will be performing throughout the day. The Woohoo Band, I don't know if you're familiar with them, the Flow Band, and at the end of the day, we have Billy Price. That's what I said.
What do you say?
So that is the general lineup for the day. At this point, we are still looking to spread the word, ask the council to let your constituents know. We have some flyers over here, but certainly between myself and Tim Little, we can get you additional flyers. We're still looking for businesses to be sponsors. There's a lot of opportunity to sponsor different segments of the event. We're looking for and hoping for a nice day that day with no rain. Crystal, Forbes Hospital is celebrating their 40th anniversary, and I want her to talk a little bit more about the 5K run and walk. I'm certainly all of you are going to participate in the walk. I know I am. I'm not going to run, but I am going to walk. She can tell you a little bit more because there's a unique opportunity that the Forbes Hospital is providing that I don't think any other walk or run has provided to any of their participants. So, Krista?
Yes, so as some of you know, it's Forbes' 40th birthday. So 40 years ago in 1978, the doors opened. And we've been celebrating a lot internally, and all of our employees and their families are excited to come and celebrate during this day. So we're going to have a great big Forbes tent, a great big birthday cake, balloons and all that kind of stuff, things for kids to do. The 5K is very interesting. I don't know who came up with it. I'm guessing Dr. Rubino, because he's very creative. But it's a 5K run for your life or walk with a doc. So we have about 12 to 15 physicians who are coming in that day to walk and just talk. So we have an anesthesiologist, a trauma surgeon, family medicine. So you can sign up, walk with that physician as long as you want to on the 5K course, and ask any question you want. I think that's kind of a clever idea. So hopefully we'll get some interest there. Interestingly enough, the physicians are very excited, and they're planning what they're going to talk about and getting all psyched about it. So it should be a very interesting event. And then we're also going to try to have our life flight helicopter there so that the kids can get on and take pictures. So it should be a very sort of multidiscipline type of day with lots of activities.
We really encourage your participation and your support. We thank you for everything you've done so far. And we're just excited to get the community involved. You'll notice that our theme is community, and it's calm unity. So it's an opportunity to bring unity to the community. It wasn't my idea, but I like it, though. Okay.
That's clever.
That is it. Maybe I'll have an opportunity before the July 28th event to update you once more. But we're really looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to actually open up the floor for public comment on proposed agenda items only. These are for the agenda items in front of us. If anyone is signed in, they could approach the microphone. Seeing none, we're going to close that portion of the meeting, and we're going to move over to, we have an executive session announcement of council conducted an executive session for personnel and litigation reasons prior to Citizens Night on Thursday, May 3rd, 2018, beginning at 6:15 p.m. until 7 p.m. Council legislative action, if any, shall be taken at the May 8th council meeting. Approval of the minutes. We have in front of you, council, you have the Citizens Night meeting of April 3rd, 2018, the council work session of April 3rd, 2018, and the regular council meeting of April 10th, 2018. I'd like to seek a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any additions or comments? Seeing none, roll call. Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Move over to approval of the reports of the tax collector, or tax collections, rather. I'll seek a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call. Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
List of bills. We have them in front of you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions or additions? And just for the public's knowledge, we did discuss these at length at our Thursday work session. We went over these items as well. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call. Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And your payroll report. I'd like to seek a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any comments? Seeing none, roll call. Sharon, please.
Mr.
Aye.
Wilson? Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Moving over to our vacancies on boards, commissions, and authorities. Council, you can go back to your the blue sheet. Mr. Wilson, do you have anything for
No,
this evening?
thank you.
Mr. Duncan.
No, but I do have an opening on, for the 6th Ward at the Library Board, so if anybody's interested, please contact me or the manager.
Very good. Mr. Ursinko.
I have none either, but I still have on the Rec and Park Board one vacancy as well. So if anybody's interested, please let Tim know, or myself, A or B. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Mr. Johns.
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Harvey.
Nothing.
Mr. Poach.
No.
Mrs. Gatos.
I do also have an opening for the Park and Rec Board for Ward 1, as well as there's an open vacancy for the Monroeville Finance Authority, and that's for any ward. So if anyone's interested in that, that's another nice board. It meets quarterly, so it's not a real big, but it's a good way to get your feet wet, be involved a little bit. So that's all.
Very good. Moving over to our bids and proposals. We have our 2018 paving program and our seal coat, fog seal, crack seal program. Mr. Little, please.
Okay, asking council for a motion to approve the paving program award to Young Blood Paving of Wampum, PA, $635,665.75.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, roll call. Sharon.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns? Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Okay, the second one is for the 2018 Seal Coat, Fog Seal, Crack Seal Program. Award to the lowest responsible bidder, Russell Standard Corporation, for $1,309,504.94.
Motion.
Second.
Comments? We have a motion and a second. Seeing none, I'll just make the comment that all the items, as far as the roads that are being tended to, they are listed on the municipal website, monroevillepa.us. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call. Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Wilson?
Very good. Moving over to our consent agenda, we have some old business. 18-1-Z AR Building Company Incorporated. Mr. Little.
Okay, applicant is requesting to rezone 4.67 acres of property currently zoned C2 Business Commercial to R5 Multifamily Residential. The properties are located at the end of Fox Plan Road and are identified as parcels 856P331, 856P339, 857A82, 857A78, and 857A72. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments?
Did we talk to, is everything good with the residents that had concerns?
We met with them last week, and I believe we did resolve most of them. I won't say everything, but the company has really done quite well with them, so
Yes.
kudos to them.
Thursday, but.
Kudos to them, so.
Any other comments, council?
No, I again will thank the developer for working so closely with the residents to try and make the best of a bad situation that they're in. So we thank you. We appreciate the help from the developers for our residents.
Seeing no other comment, we have a motion and a second to approve. So roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Good luck, John.
The ayes have it.
Good luck, gents.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You.
Very welcome. Moving over to our new business, we have 18-2-ST Langen Engineering Services sheets. Mr. Little.
Okay, applicant is requesting site plan approval to demolish and replace the existing sheet store located at the intersection of Route 48 and Route 130. The proposed store is 6,064 square feet, and property is Zone C2 Business Commercial.
I'd like to make the motion.
I have one motion to approve for Mr. Johns got it
I
out
guess I'll
first,
second then.
and then we have a second by both Mrs. Gatos and Mr. Wilson. Any comments, council?
Go for it.
I just.
Comments?
No, I think that, they're rebuilding their stores, and we talked about it at length on Thursday. It's just the new look of the store. It's going to be a little bit bigger and more efficient for the customer, so I'm happy it's being done in my ward.
Very good. Anything else, council?
No, sir.
Seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Very good. The ayes have it. Moving over to our motions. Mr. Little.
Okay, first one is a motion to authorize to advertise for the electronic technician, traffic signal technician position.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Yes.
Comments?
Yes, I have one. I didn't get the answer Thursday when I asked, but there's currently, Dawn does that position and the other. Do we have an hourly rate and a job description for this?
We have a job description, it's in your packet.
There was a 3-page job description in our package.
Oh, I didn't see
In your
that.
packet.
I think I have mine with me.
Okay, that's fine. I'll double check that. Thanks for telling
Sure.
me. But the other thing was, so we're going to budget for another employee. So in other words, Dawn's doing the job of two people,
And
it
as,
seems like.
yeah, as Paul Hugus mentioned on Thursday evening, that's correct. The way consolidation has gone before my time in Monroeville, he has been consolidated into two positions. But as I mentioned Thursday night, this is just for the technician position. And Steve, you are correct. I mean, there would have to be a foreman that would take over for the garbage and the sign shop and the line painting, which Dom oversees also.
That's a
position
year
would
from
have-
now.
But that wouldn't take place until Dom retires.
Correct.
So he just wants.
Exactly.
he
No,
wants-
I do
yeah,
understand
he
that,
just wants
just so
a
we're
shadow.
all aware, and the public's aware, that we have to allot for another position.
Yeah, but he needs a shadow, because not everyone can do
Absolutely,
that job.
I agree with that 100%. I'm not disagreeing. I was
Good.
just trying to make a point here that it's actually going to open a position, two positions, to cover what Dom currently does. That's all.
Any other comments, council? We have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
I didn't hear the motion in second. I'm sorry.
I made the motion.
I
Harvey
second it.
second.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Little.
Okay, a motion to hire Campbell, Durant, Beatty, Palumbo, and Miller, P.C., as special legal labor counsel.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Comments?
This is for negotiations of police contract, correct?
Correct.
And we utilized them in the past. Correct. Just so everyone is aware. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Ursinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Okay, third is a motion to award the active transportation improvement bike and pedestrian request for proposal to Pashick MTR for $45,000.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
This is a grant, right?
Correct. Yeah, we
It's
have received the grant for
it's not
45.
costing the municipality a dollar.
Correct.
I mean,
No.
the
It's from the
residents
county.
any money, so everyone knows that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, the fourth is a motion to pay one half of the $7,500, which would be $3,750 of the engineering costs to Streamline Engineering for the conceptual plan and feasibility study for the proposed Valley Park pedestrian bridge.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? I'll just add that this is to connect the Valley Park
To the trail.
playground to the Westmoreland Heritage Trail, which has been a tremendous amenity for our community. And this is a way to allow more access to the trail and actually allow access to Valley Park. We have some ideas long-term for what we can do at Valley. So we have a motion and a second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Moving over to our resolutions, we have one resolution. Mr. Little.
A resolution requesting a Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant of $90,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used for the Monroeville Community Park Walking Trail rehab.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Comments? I'll just add that this is for the current existing trail system that is at the community park, the asphalt trail that goes around the park that is very heavily used, and this is just to resurface that trail. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Moving to our reports of municipal staff. Mr. Ratcher.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, I passed out a draft of a vehicle use ordinance, and I don't know if everybody's had a chance to take a look at it. Mr. Little did tell me that he didn't have any comments. I did have to make a tweak to it to integrate the police rules for the police department. They have their own set of rules for take-home vehicles, and in some cases are more restrictive than the rules that we would otherwise have for other departments. So if nobody has any additional comments, you can either take some more time to review it, or you can authorize the manager to advertise it so that it can be acted on at the next meeting.
I would
Make
like
a
to ask
motion.
that we have it advertised, if anyone doesn't have any more questions on it. I don't have anything further that I want to put in it.
I agree. Oh, good.
Yes?
Okay.
I'm agree.
So is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call, Sharon.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Arasinko?
Aye.
Mr. Johns?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Poach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And Mr. Little.
Okay, the first is the Home Rule Charter referendum questions, and Council and the Home Rule Charter Committee is just requesting that the people that vote on May the 15th, that vote yes for all 5 of the questions, and if anybody wants any information on the questions, we have a whiteboard on an easel out here in the foyer of the municipal building. Also at the Senior Citizen Center, there is information at the library. It's on our website. It's on Facebook. There also was an article in the Times Express with a link to the explanation of all the referendum questions, and also my explanation at the work session last Thursday night. You can go on YouTube, or you can go on TV 15, and you can also, it's about a 10-15 minutes about listening to the explanations of all the referendum questions. So there's plenty of information out there on the referendum questions. Number 2 is the law enforcement torch run I mentioned Thursday night. That'll be on May the 29th here, running in Monroeville. It starts at PNC Park. and it's for the law enforcement. Joe, there you go. Thanks, Joe. Law enforcement torch run, and this starts at PNC Park, as I was saying, and it'll end at Penn State. Our section is here from the Sheets on Route 22 by Duff Road, across the street from Duff Road by the Marriott, and it'll run down to the Speedway near Alpine Village. And then the Murraysville Police, I believe, will pick it up from there. Our police will be running, I'll be running it and also. So that'll be conducted on May the 29th. Also, as I mentioned on Thursday night also, the Turtle Creek Valley COG is in need of a person for the UCC, Uniform Construction Code Appeals Board, which is also the Property Maintenance Appeals Board. If anybody has an appeal on any kind of building codes or property maintenance, that is with a consortium with all the municipalities in the Turtle Creek Valley COG. They had a resignation, and they're looking to appoint somebody on that board. And last, we had some technical difficulties with TV 15, so the rerun that usually is scheduled tomorrow at 10 o'clock and thereafter until we fix the difficulties will not be broadcast. You can see the meeting if you wish to on YouTube, as you usually can. And that concludes my report.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Hugus, anything to add this evening?
No, sir.
Ms. Rock?
No, nothing, sir.
Very good. And we're going to open the floor up for public comments on any municipal item. And when,
Okay.
if you just sign in and state your name for the record, and we ask to have a 5-minute time limit, please.
My name is Cheryl Boyce. I live on Point Circle. And actually, I have to apologize to council. I'm not turning my back on purpose, but I believe the answer is over here, one of the gentlemen, Mr. Weldon. I know I was watching the last meeting, and we are going to have logging in Turnpike Gardens, between Turnpike Gardens and Abers Creek, correct?
Correct.
Who has oversight for the buffer zone? I understand we are going to have a 25.
You got it.
I can't hear.
Can you,
I'll just
okay.
address me, but
Okay.
he's listening. Trust
Okay,
me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Mr. Weldon, the buffer zone, which I understand is 25 feet, this time there will be a buffer zone, correct?
Correct.
Who has oversight for that? Do we have a clue? Who has oversight?
Obviously, to the buffer zone.
The buffer zone.
The applicant has provided us with a survey, so we know where the buffer zone is supposed to be.
Okay.
And if you think there is something in violation of the buffer zone, we can come out and try to work it out. But as far as what they have submitted, they are maintaining the 25-foot buffer zone.
Okay, the reason I brought this to your attention, so you all know if you haven't followed this situation, we had, and Bob Serafini's been here and he's given you updates about this, we had to find in 2017, we had to go back and hire a surveyor to come in, because twice now they've marked trees that were either not in their property, nor was it in the 25 feet buffer zone. So I guess my question is, first of all, the buffer zone. There clearly, you have to know where the line is in order to have a buffer zone. If you don't know where your property line is, the buffer zone becomes irrelevant. And clearly they've proven twice now, or we wouldn't have paid the money to have someone survey the property, they don't have a clue. Now, it's much easier when you're in a residential area and you have a lot, because first of all, and I'll be honest, the stakes disappear over time. You live there 30. My neighbor next door lived there like 50 years. He was an original homeowner. Those things disappear. That's why we went ahead and hired somebody to come in. And we clearly now have it marked so they know exactly where it is. They are confused. It's very easy for us to know. The county has it. We have the original surveys. Actually, my neighbor next door, who lived there for 50 years, he had the builder's surveys of each lot. So now it's clearly marked. The problem is not everybody on the hillside did what we did. So we know they're confused, and we know that they don't know where their property line is. So I don't know what they've said to the municipality, but I'll be honest with you, I'm retired now. If I have to take a lawn chair and sit on my path and watch them do this, I will do that, because they've proven to me twice. And once I spend money on a surveyor, I am going to be very serious about what they're doing. So I don't trust them to know where the property line is. They've already proven that they don't know. I'm going to assume it's the same logging company Is it the same logging company that, as before, from Ohio? Do we know?
It is Ron Fulton.
Do you know where they're from? Because I've already told the logging company, along with the forester, who, by the way, was very gracious. He was very nice about this when we went through this last year before we had it surveyed, and I explained our concern that it's very hard. When you have a large piece of property with a lot of woods, and if you're not going to really pay the money to have it surveyed correctly, you're like,
At their mercy.
At their mercy. That's why we said, we're done with this. We know they're wrong. But unfortunately, not all my neighbors did this. So if it's the same logging company,
I don't think it is. I think it was Y&B last time.
they were from Ohio, which I thought was interesting because Pennsylvania says this promotes more jobs in Pennsylvania, and they hired an Ohio logging company. So, but anyway, I'd like to know the name because I did send them a letter. And I explained in detail, both to the forester and to the logging company at that point, what we were going to do, why we did it. I did a follow-up letter to say we have had it surveyed, and your client is wrong. And that it's now clearly marked, at least in a certain area of that hillside. And the other thing I'd like to know is when you do a buffer zone, do you go straight down the hill when you measure, or do you go out from the buffer zone and then down?
It's 25 feet from the property line.
From the property line, so irregardless of how you measure it. Because there's a distinct difference if you go through all those trees and weeds as opposed to if you go straight out and down.
It'd be the land distance, I would believe.
It's the land distance down the hill. Because that whole thing, if you came and looked, they are really confused about what belongs where. So I just want to have some...
You're talking about the company or the
The
resident?
company, I think it's a combination, Greg. I think the resident in the beginning when he bought it, he marked some trees initially, because this has been going on with this marking of the tree over there. This is not new. I think initially he was confused. He's making the assumption our yards go out, down, and then flattens out again. He's making the assumption that either our yards stop where it's flat with the grass, or the hillside, not thinking that it also goes down into the woods a little bit. And so they're making assumptions based on the hillside, and that may be true for some yards. That is not true for all the yards. So I think it's a combination of the forest or the logging company may be listening to the owner, who clearly has proven to us he's clueless about where his...
I just don't understand the whole thing. If I own property and I want to have it, the trees cut, I should be responsible to find a boundary.
You would think.
You
would
mark off
think.
the boundary, then here's 25 foot, and move on.
But that
and
hasn't
then there
happened.
is no confusion. But we don't require them to lay out their boundary. It just amazes me.
Well, you would think when they
Throughout
bought-
this,
I agree with you, and you can imagine when we had to pay to have it done.
Yeah,
to make a
naturally. Why
point.
should the burden be on you?
Right.
You're not benefiting from the
But you
tree
know,
cutting.
Mr. Zungin, here's the other issue. If you come into my house and take something of mine and you sell it and get money for it, I call the police because you're doing something illegal. If you go on my property, take a tree down that's my tree, and you get paid for that, it's the same thing.
And once it's down, it's too late.
It is, but you've now taken money that is
can,
not
but-
yours to take. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of different
I was
reasons.
I've been confused from the get-go on all this,
Well,
as far
you
as...
should live there and you'd be
Yeah,
even more
I
confused.
can understand where you're...
We'll have oversight. We'll pay attention. If there's any issues, I will get the name of the logging company since that's someone different. And I apologize if I'm taking too long. It's just, this has been an
So
ongoing,
good luck. I hope this goes better this time.
I don't trust that to happen,
Well,
but,
we can hope for you that
well, I
maybe-
think we're more educated. I
Yes.
learned more about forestry and the state than I ever wanted to know.
I
But
hear
now,
ya.
but now I
I hear
know.
ya.
But thank you for listening, and we'll see how this all plays out.
Thank you.
Thank
And then
you.
certainly the residents in that area, if there's any issues, please contact
Oh,
the municipality,
yeah,
and
we will.
if we need to get somebody up there from engineering department.
Yeah. Mr. Serafini
We-
will keep us
I'll
up to
echo what
date.
Paul said. If there's a problem, just call us.
Absolutely.
We can have a field meeting.
Exactly.
Very quickly.
Yeah,
Very good. Excellent.
okay.
Thank you very much.
So I still have the floor open for public comment. Sir, if you could just sign in and then state your name for the record.
I think you know my name, right?
I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Yeah. Mike Berryman, Rush Valley and Haymaker. Good
Welcome,
evening.
Mike.
I'm up here for fracking. I think there's about 4 people. I just want an answer. Saturday, that Easter weekend, they came through where I live. They were shaking the ground pretty good. And I'm curious, when they put those sound waves down in the ground, are they damaging any sewer pipe, in-ground pools, gas lines, or water lines?
We don't have any reports of any damage.
Yeah.
No one has reported anything that has happened.
No.
So we couldn't turn them down from doing what they were doing. We regulated it as much as possible.
Well, actually, I
can't say
guess you
no.
couldn't tell if they did it or not, so that's
But
the
no one has called to say.
citizen's going to
yeah,
get stuck
no-
for
no-
a bill for,
right.
let's say.
No one has called
Not
or
yet, huh?
come up to say that there's been any issues, and they've been gone for, I
Kind
think,
of
long
strange
enough.
because
for-
they've dug in front of my house twice
Yeah,
since they did it.
but they're.
Mike,
Not-
literally dug, like, how deep?
It was probably the water. I don't know how deep I was gone, but I was coming back and they had the
Wait,
cones
the
out
water
there. and
authority?
everything.
Was it the water authority?
It was either the blue or the gold, but I know they were digging. I mean, it was one of the boroughs.
Well, it might have been the water authority.
Yeah.
You know, our lines are older now. They will crack because a lot of them are
Well, yeah,
still
but I mean,
terracotta.
let's
so
say
they
they're
would
just sitting
replace
nice
it.
and peaceful, and these guys come along and start shaking the ground. I mean, but there's no way to find that out, is there? I guess.
That shouldn't be that hard. Tim, you know what? Maybe for him, if you can talk to Jimmy Hunter, we got his address, so I'm sure it sounds like it's a water issue.
What's been repaired? Is everything fixed or whatever?
I think it's the water. It's blue, right? Yeah, they got a blue cap out there on it.
Yeah, that would be
That's
good.
water.
They broke the
Okay.
water line.
They may be just repairing a line. They do that on my
Green
street.
sanitary, if you see them spray paint green, that's sanitary.
Right, yeah.
Blue's the water.
Yeah.
They may have had a water break or whatever out there and had nothing to do with the fracking.
There was water breaks all over Monroeville. We
Well, there is no
discussed that.
fracking, but the
Do
testing.
you think that they could shake it enough
No.
to crack, maybe, or not?
It's my understanding that it's minimal, but I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mike. I'll leave the floor open.
Good evening.
Good evening. If you just sign in and state your name for the record, please.
Sure. Lois Drumheller, Monroeville. And per usual, in accordance with speaking through the mayor, order under that and under ordinance 2482, that's how I'm directing everything, so I can stay within my 5 minutes here.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm going to pick up from last month. I think it was the April the 10th council meeting, and I had probably about 5 questions. Not everybody was here, but everyone is here tonight. And so not getting any answers, I need to ask these questions again. So I'll just proceed to do that. Number 1, does council have evidence whether Geokinetics, the seismic company, whether they acquired permission of the property owners to collect data for seismic mapping?
Keep going.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Geokinetics has and doesn't have.
They made permit, though, right?
They did get a permit, yes.
got a part- yeah.
All right. I mean, I wanted to be assured that the data was collected legally. If it was collected illegally, then the data, the next question would be, would that data be redacted from the seismic testing map? I'm sure you remember that some residents here claimed that the settlement agreement was violated because they hadn't received the prior notice. And they were speaking at previous meetings at Citizens Night. So that being the case, how would you know the answer to any of that question? Would you know the answer, whether or not that was collected legally because of the claims made that they weren't notified? Is there any way for you to know that?
I don't have an answer for you.
No,
No, the
not
other-
more investigation, I mean, obviously, yeah.
Lois, have you called the DEP?
I'm asking if you know.
No, I mean, that
I'm
doesn't
not,
come under our
I'm not
purview.
trying to work the answer for you, but to get an answer from you.
No, we're saying we don't know.
We don't know.
You don't know?
We do
Okay.
not know.
All right, I now have another question that was left over. Is it the opinion of council that seismic surveyors for the oil and gas industry are a public utility?
They were given a permit to test in the right-of-ways.
That's one fact, but are they considered a public utility?
I'm not sure if they are considered a public utility or not, but they were given they were given a permit.
Yeah, they were given a permit, I'm sure, but would they be considered a public utility?
I don't have a clue, I can tell you.
No, I don't think anybody made any judgment on whether they were a public utility or not. I think the Public Utility Commission would have to make that determination
And how would you acquire that information from them?
by calling the Public Utility Commission.
Would you do that?
We can have somebody do that, yes.
Okay. All right. I would like to ask another question here, too. Is Geokinetics entitled to the information they collected after being out of compliance with the settlement agreement?
Well, I think your question makes an assumption that we don't know is true, so.
You don't know that it's false, you don't know that it's true, you don't know if they're a
Correct.
public utility company?
Correct. You need to ask Geokinetics these questions.
Well, since Geokinetics and you had an agreement, why would I have to be a third party that asked that question?
Well, I think what I heard the last time the citizens were up here talking is that they felt that Geokinetics had entered onto their private property. So if they think that there's been an injury to their private property, they're the only ones that can enforce that. The municipality can't enforce private property rights. As far as the municipal rights of way are concerned, the municipality has control there, but not over people's private property.
Correct.
And I heard them say that they felt that Geokinetics had entered onto their private property without their permission. That's something they'd have to determine.
Yeah, there were two thoughts, I think I remember from that public comment, and one was, might have mentioned private property, the other one mentioned public easement, which is why I asked the question about whether or not they were considered a public utility. They would have no problem entering. And I think you'll remember that Dave Mintz gave you an example of that. If the easement between houses, we'll just use Madden Drive, were to set up between the end of the road where you're in that public right-of-way, and you had lemonade stand there. You remember that question? And so would the children, or actually, let's just say it's an adult lemonade stand, would they have to approach the municipality for a permit to set their lemonade stand up in that part of the right-of-way in front of that person's private property? Would they have to do that?
Anybody who does anything in the public right-of-way has to get permission from the owner of the right-of-way.
So that would include lemonade stands, too?
I think it would, yeah.
Okay, all right. And then I have one more question. Because the ALOM conference was going on, not everybody was back, I had asked prior to anybody attending, and I think 5 members of council did attend ALOM, who among the 5 members who attended the conference would be reporting as to how governments in Allegheny County feel about the regulation of oil and gas operations. Because as you remember, Mayor, you thought that was a good conversation to have. I'm not sure who was able to go, out of 5 of you, who had an opportunity to ask or have that kind of conversation at the ALOM conference. Anyone?
I left early with strep throat, so don't look at me.
I hope you're well.
I'm better now, but
So, no one. Okay.
there was no presentation given on such a subject.
Yeah, but there,
You wanted us to ask to have a roundtable?
well, I want any way you could, because it is a interactive conference. I'm pretty sure there would have been a lot of opportunities, even if it was as
not.
simple.
No, they have an agenda and they stay with
Excuse
it.
me.
There it would.
Even if there isn't
You listened to me a moment
No,
ago,
I was
so
trying to make myself clear, because I don't think I'm making
Clarify
myself
your-
clear enough. even if there was an opportunity to have an informal gathering, a ice-breaking party, a social gathering, surely you are in contact with other municipalities that are in Allegheny County and would have had the opportunity to mention that, just to get the general thought about it. And it sounds like that maybe didn't happen.
Well,
No,
they were very
Lois,
positive.
I can tell you, and I think maybe I did talk to you, I mean, you were addressing council, but I will say, I did talk to elected officials, managers, planners, zoning officers, and made a kind of a semi-point to do that. And, I mean, not that I thought about it continuously, but I did talk about it, and I did not get any kind of conversation with those people in Allegheny County talking about oil and gas, talking about seismic testing. Now, that's not to say it's not important. It is. But I just don't think it has hit Allegheny County like it has Washington County. It just hasn't. We're an outer. We border on Westmoreland County, and us, Plum, Penn Hills, South Fayette, which borders on Washington County. Those are the areas that are getting the seismic testing, that are possibly getting a fracking well. And it's a matter of time whether this will become a bigger issue in Allegheny County. That's my take on it from the ALOM conference.
Is it a wait and see? Is it something that there'll be another opportunity?
I think it's a wait and see, and as I've told Doug Shields before, I mean, I think it's something that should be addressed with the county, Mr. Fitzgerald, county council, one way or the other, good or bad, and that's where your direction should go with respect to the county.
Well, we are part of the county, and you do interact with the other portions of that. Thank you.
I'll leave the floor open for public comment. Any municipal item? Seeing none, we're going to close that portion of the meeting, and we're going to move over to our reports of our council members. Mrs. Gatos, we'll start with you this evening.
All right. As I stated on Thursday, the weather's breaking, so if you have some cabin fever, I've got some things you can go do with the senior center. They have a lot of great choices out there. Next Friday, May 18th at 1 o'clock, is going to be an ice cream meet and mingle. Council members, the manager, some department heads will be available to have ice cream and talk with you. Wednesday, May 30th at 12 o'clock is going to be a burger bingo bash, which is a new thing to have fresh grilled burgers and then play a game of bingo. That will be $6 for a member and $7 for a guest. Monday the 21st is their monthly luncheon. It's at 12 o'clock. It's $6 a person. It will be a barbecued pork. There'll be beans and slaw, fries, dessert. Ticket deadline is Wednesday the 16th, so if you want to go, you need to get your tickets sooner than later. Lastly, and to me, of course, most importantly, is happy 50th birthday to my husband this Thursday. I love you with all my heart, hon, forever and a day. And that's it. Oh, yeah, happy Mother's Day. I'll say it this time, sit closer. I said it
Thanks for reminding
Thursday.
everybody here.
Okay, guys.
Mr. Poach.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, hopefully my voice will hold through from this evening. I neglected to give much of a report on Citizens Night the other night. One of the interesting things is some activities at the library I wanted to bring up, and they were a bit modest in their report, that the information they gave me this past week. They put something at the bottom that actually is quite significant, should be at the top of it. One of the things that has happened, of course, the Library Association here across Western Pennsylvania, is they found a 5% decrease in their circulation. Most of the folks, with one particular exception, and that's Monroeville, we're up 14% over top of it. If you come back through the library at any time, it's almost, you can't get enough parking, Mr. Little. Expanded to, actually Monday and Tuesday night, we ran into Lois walking out the door as well. And so they're doing quite a good job over there on top of that. So that adds to some of their upcoming events. We're a wedding cake and tea on Saturday as well. Accompanying that with some English people. My wife will be coming. That'll start for that. That's a $20 fee for it. The McGinnis Sisters Book Lovers Club group is now meeting at the library, since, of course, we don't have McGinnis Sisters to do that. But that'll be on May the 29th. Summer reading programs are underway for all of the kids. That's in place. They'll be getting started, and they really begin on June the 4th. That's in place, too. So, and the They're holding the Interfaith Panel on the Religious Garb of Monroeville on Monday, the 14th, next week as well, as an event for that too. It looks very strong. Visitor and Conventions Bureau seemed to explain to me they're running a little bit behind this year with some things. They have a Kids Artistic Review beginning on May the 4th over the weekend through the 6th in North Hall. The Pan Spring Coin Show is also beginning on May the 10th through Saturday the 12th. And the Mainline Autographs present the Area Spring Spectacular there also at the end of the 18th and 19th. It's not going to conflict with the Royal Wedding, so you can do both at the same time to do that. The Holiday House Reunion Party on Friday the 18th. For those of us old enough to remember the Holiday House. Steve and Mike, guys are down there like, oh, yeah.
I barely remember.
Yeah, they remember that time, yeah, to do that.
I barely remember those nights.
Yeah, too. That's the problem, is you barely remember those evenings. The fourth annual, also Polka Festival, which is actually pretty good at the same time, the 19th, is also be there the weekend. And the Wine and Beer Comedy Festival, which is always popular in June on the 15th and 16th as well. On another note, on some of my own activities, Mr. Sedlak and I are following up on a project we've been working on for a while. We'll be meeting with Senator Brewster's office, who authored a report, his committee, the Legislative Budget and Finance Committee that he's vice chair of, on the cost and implementation of Right to Know. We're trying to move this process forward to make it simpler, easier, more accessible as well, and we'll be meeting with them to discuss some help from them in the State Right to Know Law office to help move that forward too. So we hope to make some of this a little bit more automated, a little bit faster too. So that's on Friday. We have that meeting with them as well. And that's enough for right now.
Thank you, Mr. Poach.
Thanks.
Mr. Harvey.
Yes, just wanted to advise council that both new radio room consoles have been installed, and the equipment for the tower sites will begin to be delivered to those sites next week. Then we have to wait for the tower crews to arrive to climb the towers to install them, unless you guys want to help. But they'll be hopefully installing that within the next, by the end of the month, and we'll see how the rest goes. I'll report back to you. I wanted to remind everybody, and especially the citizens watching, that by approving the paving and seal coat program tonight, council also approved the additional funding because it was a little over what we had originally planned, and I just wanted to keep everybody advised of that. And my congratulations to Officer Tricula and Markle for their retirement. I know what they've been through. Hope they have a great retirement. They certainly deserve it. Last but not least, I wanted to say that my wife has put up with me as a police officer, a fire chief, and now on council, and I wanted to say happy anniversary to her. She sits at home and watches these meetings every month, and God bless her. It's our 36th anniversary today, and I love you, Nancy. That's it.
All right, great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Your Honor, I
Poach,
I
yes.
forgot something. Excuse me, Jim, too. One of the things that happened, it is Law Enforcement Week. Ron started and reminded me of that, too. This past week, one of Monroeville line of duty death had been honored onto the wall at the North Shore Memorial, too, with Sergeant Rasparsky, who was actually a friend of my grandmother's, believe it or not, one time as well, too. So they had publicly acknowledged him. He went on last year, but he wasn't acknowledged as well, too. So here during Law Enforcement Week as well. So that's one of our, Sergeant Rasparsky.
Congrats to him.
Yes.
And his family.
And his family as
Yes.
well. Thank you.
Very
Sorry.
good.
Thanks.
No problem. I'm good.
Sorry,
Harvey, you
Jim.
done? Great.
I'm done.
Mr. Johns.
Yes, sir. Just like to let everybody know that the parade committee has been working hard. In fact, we have another meeting tomorrow night, the 4th of July celebration in the park. Our parade's going to go on as it does every year on the 4th of July. It's promptly at 9 a.m. going down Route 22. This year, we're going to have a little niche to it. We're going to have a mini 5K race. Not sure what that means, a 3.5 mile, whatever the heck it is, but they're going to go down 22, run around the mall a couple times. 100-plus participants in that prior to the parade. The parade in all these years usually is over somewhere between noon and 12:30. We have got together and we're going to have a festival at the park, Community Park West, starting at 1 o'clock. It will run from 1 p.m. till 7 p.m. in the park. This is not the fireworks, by the way. It's a festival that's going to have live music, a couple of bands.
We're going to have activities for the kids, inflatables, face painting, some spin art. We're going to have 2 different bands. We're going to have 16 food trucks. No admission to get into the park, but obviously if you're buying food and stuff, it's going to cost you something. That will be over sharp at 7 p.m., which is going to give everybody enough time to get down to the mall, because the fireworks will once again go off at the Monroeville Mall at 9:30 p.m. sharp. And that's all I have.
Very good.
Thank you.
Mr. Arasinko.
A couple things. Obviously, please honor our police. We have our chief back here, Doug Cole. You just can't say enough about our folks in blue. They certainly, and so sad that you see on the news all the time. It seems like almost regularly you see an officer either being killed in the line of duty or shot. And it's just thank them when you see them out there. I think they would appreciate that. In addition to that, this is also Memorial Day coming up. We can't forget our fallen. Please get out there. It's May 28th. Our parade starts at 9 sharp. Nick will be leading the parade this year. Please get out there and show your support for our fallen heroes, for the families that have lost loved ones as well. And down at the gravesite when we do that service, it's quite humbling. So please try to attend. The attendance has been off a little bit. I don't understand why. It should be every big as, if not even bigger than the 4th of July parade. So please get out there and support our veterans and the families. And that's, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
Very good. Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, I'd just like to say congratulations to Jim Markle on his retirement.
Yeah.
Real quick, when my brother passed away out in Apollo, he showed up. He didn't know my brother and sang at the funeral, and it was an honor. And I know he does that for a lot of people. And happy Mother's Day to my wife, my daughter Ashley. We had a new grandchild last week, a little boy, and my daughter Heather, and all the other mothers out there.
Amen.
Very good.
Men and women.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you. To all the mothers out there in the community, happy Mother's Day to you. We received a letter from a happy resident congratulating our road crews for the snow removal and our garbage removal. I want to say great job by our Public Works Supervisor, Mike Adams, and his band of merry men and women. Great job by congratulations to Tara Grissom for her great effort in building the senior center. Since I've been around, and I'm very anxious to join, but as soon as I get that age, I'm going to jump right in.
He'll be there soon enough.
Run right over.
I think that time passed, Tom.
But Tara has done a terrific job, and I just can't say enough. I mean, it grows. Every time I look at one of the newsletters, it's growing, and we should be proud of Tara and the Senior Center. Congratulations to Jim Markle and Johnny Chicola on their retirements, and I just wanted to say a great job of the 4th of July committee. Thank you, guys. Looking forward to the 4th. That's all. Thank you.
Very good. And I'll finish up with, once again, congratulating our retired officers and for all their service to our community. And a happy Mother's Day to my wife, Tara. And while I'm speaking of her, we just talked about Lyme disease quite a bit earlier today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. I was challenged to take a bite out of Lyme disease. It's an awareness campaign to increase funding and raise awareness for improved Lyme disease diagnosis and treatment. My colleagues up here, they have all been given a fact about Lyme disease, and I'm going to ask that they read those facts, and then at the end they've all been issued limes, and at the end of all of the facts, we're going to all take a bite out of a lime and try to raise awareness here. Yes, we are. We'll start
Yes,
with
we
you.
are.
So, Mrs. Gatos, if you would, please.
With no tequila involved.
Now, after we're done reading our facts and we take our bite out of the lime, should we then ask for the next people to do the challenge for us?
Absolutely, yeah.
Or can we start it now with Mr. Cole?
He's allergic.
Feel free to challenge anyone that you would like to.
Well, I personally would like to challenge you, Mr. Cole. just because it's Police Awareness Week, and this just
You haven't
adds in
done it
another
yet.
good thing of two things coming together. So, my fact is, children are more at risk than adults of contracting Lyme disease, and they are more vulnerable to central nervous system infections, which could cause long-term effects. So please check your children when they come in from the outside.
Mr. Poach.
Coach.
Yes, that there's no test available for Lyme disease that proves the bacteria that causes it that has been eradicated, or that the patient's cured, particularly after the treatment. And many folks still suffer from the symptoms even after basic treatment.
Thank you. Mr. Harvey.
Lyme disease has 6 times more new cases each year than HIV and AIDS, and 2% times higher than the number of women diagnosed with breast cancer, yet it only receives 1% of the funding for research.
Mr. Little.
Okay, I would like to say that I am a Lyme disease survivor. Okay, as most of council, if not all council and the staff know, that last July 4th, I missed the July 4th festivities up at the park because I had something wrong with me and I didn't know what the hell it was. And 2 days later, I went to the doctor and my doctor said, you probably have Lyme disease. We don't know, but he put me on antibiotics and blood tests. A week later, come back, and I did have Lyme disease. And I haven't had any kind of residual effects or anything. But the fact I have is the most commonly prescribed for diagnosing Lyme disease is the ELISA test. This test, often sensitive enough to detect Lyme, can produce a false negative. If you have been tested negative but suspect you have Lyme, contact Lyme Literate Medical Doctor through ilads.org. ilads.org.
Very good. Mr. Johns.
Yes, sir. Fewer than 50% of people infected get a bullseye rash and known when they were bit. Many people are asymptomatic, big word, but develop Lyme symptoms months, years, or decades later.
Thank you. Mr. Arasenko.
Ticks can carry many different types of bacterial, viral, and parasitic infections, some that are life-threatening. Most doctors know nothing about co-infections and almost never test, which can further complicate treatment and recovery.
Mr. Duncan, please.
Yes, transmission of Lyme's disease and other co-infections carried by a tick can take place in minutes, particularly if the tick is not removed properly. And it's odd because a couple days ago my daughter actually found a tick on her 3-year-old son. It wasn't embedded, it was crawling up his leg.
Perfect.
You know, and I had told her about your issues, and so she checks the kids regularly now.
Fantastic. Great.
That's all I have.
Mr. Wilson, please.
Lyme disease is called the great imitator. It is often mistaken for ALS, MS, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, autism, fibromyalgia,
That too.
That one too.
All the fibros.
That too.
All of those.
I'd be happy to spell it for you. And chronic fatigue and other illnesses.
Thank you. And I'll finish up with Lyme disease. As far as Lyme disease, deer do not carry Lyme disease. People think, oh, well, I have a lot of deer in my yard, and that's where the Lyme disease comes from. Actually, white mice and small mammals are what carry Lyme disease. So ticks will feed on infected mice, and then from there they go through life cycles and eventually do latch onto deer. So what happens whenever it gets to the deer state is that the deer allows the tick to feed again and an adult phase, and then which allows that tick then to lay eggs. So one tick can lay 1,000 eggs, and that's what one of the problems that we're having. So if we can reduce the habitat for mice and those small rodents, that can really help combat the Lyme disease and the tick population in our areas. If you do find a tick on you, like Mr. Duncan said, you definitely want to catch it before it gets embedded. If it does start to embed into you, you want to remove it with a pair of tweezers as close to your skin as possible and pull straight out. Don't throw the tick away. You can save it, put it in a Ziploc bag. There are places you can send it to for testing. University of Massachusetts is one of them, and East Stroudsburg University is another one. You can send it in right away, or you can actually put it in your freezer and save it, and it can be tested later if you have any symptoms. So with that, I'm going to ask everyone to pick up their limes here, and we're going to take a bite out of lime.
Ready?
Everybody's doing it.
For the awareness.
Where's the tequila?
1, 2, 3.
I'm done. They're running your game for us.
Very good.
They're good.
And I thank everyone for participating. And what I would like to do is just challenge.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Should we not also mention to check your pets? My daughter just recently got a new puppy, and she's getting the dog vaccinated for Lyme. For the
Yes,
ticks.
because your animals can actually bring ticks into your home,
As
and
well
then
as-
they can latch
yes.
on to individuals in your home.
So
the
be
main thing is-
aware, check your pets.
Yeah, check your pets, check yourself, even if you're just out in your yard gardening and cutting grass, it's very, very important to prevent this
And did I
debilitating
read-
disease.
Did I read that Pennsylvania's #1 state in the country?
Yes.
Pennsylvania's been #1 reporting state for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
For an animal.
It's crazy.
For what this is worth, I'm certainly no tick expert. But I have done this in the past. Someone told me, and I tried it, and it didn't work. This was a year ago, tick on my dog. Found it, instead of taking tweezers and pulling it out, because they told me to take dish soap, of all things.
Yeah.
Put some dish soap and go counterclockwise, that doggone thing backed right out of the dog. That's a true story.
There are different
There you go.
methods, yes.
Good.
I've seen that on YouTube.
And in the process here of taking the bite out of Lyme, I would like to actually challenge our Gateway School Board members to raise awareness, because children are definitely the highest at risk in Pennsylvania. We don't want to deter kids from playing outside, but they play outside, and I've certainly found ticks on my daughters just being in the neighborhood and goofing around, not hiking, nothing like that. So I'd like to challenge the Gateway School Board to join us in this awareness campaign of taking a bite out of Lyme. And with that, I would like to seek a motion to adjourn.
move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you and good night.